So last night was pretty insane, right? Not only was my birthday powerful enough to bring together President Trump and Biden. Yes, I'm still making that joke and no one can stop me. But it was also strong enough to break the media's love affair with Biden. Who would have thought? Not that I think they came to their senses or anything, as we'll be discussing a little bit later on tonight in the show. But one point I want to touch on here is the strategery, as Bush would say, that President Trump showed when the debate moderators tried to pin him down on January 6th. Instead of getting bogged down on a topic that the hosts are openly biased about, President Trump turned the question on its head by basically saying, yeah, I remember that day, back when we had affordable gas and groceries. That's important because as much as the left keeps trying to make this election about fake, esoteric problems like threats to our sacred democracy, to normal voters, it's about the meat and potatoes of life. Americans are struggling to get by, and that's no canned talking point. It's real. As the elites and managerial class have impoverished us, they've torn apart our social and moral guardrails in an effort to distract us from this highway robbery they're perpetrating. Think how we went from Occupy Wall Street to Wall Street funding Pride Parade floats in 10 years flat, if that. That's what I'm talking about. Not that the Occupy Wall Streeters with their Marxist talking points and rape tents had anything valuable to contribute to defending the real working man, but essentially the elite smelled a populist uprising and moved to squash it by offering a mind-numbing amount of free sex in all flavors and free drugs. Perhaps they hoped that if enough Americans were doped up and porn addicted that they would become too lazy and unambitious to want anything more than a life of government handouts and to be replaced by either robots or cheap foreign labor. And then with the rise of wokeism, those same doped-up, porn-addicted young people could assuage their angst about failing in life by assuring themselves that they are social justice warriors who've accomplished more than the explorers who circumnavigated the globe hundreds of years ago because, well, a lot of them supported slavery, whereas the social justice warrior of today doesn't. And so by default, the social justice warrior is a better person, and the accomplishments of the explorer should be torn down, deconstructed, and even ridiculed. See how it works? See how these ideologies keep everyone so depressed, low, and hostile to any aspirations of true greatness? But as the popularity behind President Trump is proving, Americans, especially a lot of young people even, want more than the life being offered to them by the left. They want to become accomplished in their careers. They want to be able to afford homes, to have families, to be respectable and dignified and disciplined in their actions, and hopefully, many of them want to be godly people first and foremost. But since that upsets the balance that the left seeks, where they call the shots and we just follow along without thinking for ourselves, well, they've unleashed something else on us aside from the drugs and sex. It's called anarcho-tyranny, as we've talked about before. Our friend Nate Hochman, writing for The Spectator, has a great new piece out about this. In it, he goes after Biden's Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, for recently declaring gun violence a public health crisis. That means he wants healthcare workers to discuss firearms with their patients, asking them if they have any, what kind they are, how they're stored, those sorts of questions. The advisory also calls for red flag laws, universal background checks, and safe storage laws. What is curiously absent, as Hochman notes, is any mention of, I don't know, locking up criminals for violating current gun laws or really just any law. He writes, quote, "You see, crime isn't actually the result of criminals. It's a result of social conditions. It's an education issue, a community funding issue, a racism issue, a public health issue. It's about anything and everything other than the issue of crime itself. The solution, then, is not to confront the criminals with force rooted in justice and backed by moral courage, as Pat Buchanan famously put it, but to opt for the remedies that managerial elites offer for every social problem and pathology. More therapeutic programs, more bureaucrats, and more social engineering. More tax dollars will line the pockets of more administrators, both in government and in its parastatal allies in the nonprofit sector. The normal middle American gun owner will be subjected to simultaneously infantilizing and restrictive new burdens on his right to keep and bear arms, and the violent mayhem on our city streets will persist as it had before, unhindered by a system that was never designed to actually solve the problem in the first place," end quote. Anarchy-tyranny, it's the point. Tyranny to keep the law-abiding patriot down, and anarchy to ensure a never-ending supply of excuses to keep robbing the patriot through his taxes to address issues that will never be fixed.